Once upon a time, gaming mice used to always have their charging cables plugged in, and if you took the charging cable out, the mouse would stop working altogether. What? Some people in current year still use these things today. Perhaps you like wires getting tangled. You might want an affordable gaming mouse. Maybe your tinfoil hat causes wireless interference. In this video, we're going to take a look at 5 of the best wired mice you can buy right now, today. And also how to stop that pesky cable flopping around on your desk. But one of these 5 is the best. So let's take a look at the nominations in no particular order. The first one I've started to refer to as Old Reliable, as it's a mouse that just seems to lurk in the back of my mind, waiting for me to start a top 5 list just so it can reappear. The fact that this mouse has a wired version is something that should be applauded, as gaming mice are creeping up to extortionate prices, and the cheaper alternatives are random mice from AliExpress. It's also a heavily tested mouse, with the original HyperX Pulsefire Haste having a successful first run. This second one doesn't stray too far away from what made the first one so good. It keeps its rather simple shape that is comfortable for all grip types and removes the holes from the top of the mouse, which does help with the comfort side of things. It's also had a sensor upgrade which lets it get up to an 8000 Hz polling rate. It uses mechanical switches, comes with grip tape, spare feet, and has a lightweight cable. It also weighs just 52 grams, but probably the best thing about it is the price, with it costing around $50. For that price you get great performance with the option for higher polling rates, and it's very high quality. This applied to the first Haste as well. Considering all the amazing gaming mice that have incredible quality, this mouse surprisingly joins them despite being significantly cheaper. The next wired mouse in this list might seem like a bit of a cop-out, but the real cop-out would be me saying buy a wireless mouse and just plug it in. For this mouse, I'm going to refer to the manufacturer that has a very extensive back catalogue, which expands a variety of different shapes for all hand sizes and grip types. Everyone is begging Zowie to make a wireless version of, at this point, any of their old mice. I'll be honest, there are flaws with these mice, mainly the scroll wheel and the coating that you feel like is designed for the very few people in the world that cannot sweat. From what I've checked, the ZA, S, FK and EC wired are all still available. You want to get the -C versions, as these are the newer ones with raised braided cables. The others are older versions with rubber cables and even worse scroll wheels. Even though the specs aren't the greatest when you compare it to the modern GigaChan 3950 sensors with 10,000 Hz polling rate, 2.5 million DPI with an estimated -100 milliseconds of latency, made from a carbon fiber graphene and nanotech composite, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. That won't make you good at games, and the older 3360 sensor will be good enough for most people. But there's a reason that quite a few still use some of these models, and that's because when you get a Zowie mouse that is comfortable for you, you'll experience comfort that can only rival you going back to being 3 years old and snuggling up with your favourite blanket. I can't show my favourite wired Zowie mouse because it's a bit too crusty and this video will get demonetized, but even using this Zowie S1 again for this video, I felt the amazing comfort these shapes provide. Make a wireless one. The next mouse is a legendary one, for it took gaming mice to a new level of quality and introduced a shape that has been copied and been the inspiration for many. It features a 3370 sensor and KLGM 8.0 switches, which would make most turn their nose up at the Endgame Gear XM1R, especially considering the weight being around 70 grams. Some consider that heavy enough to train you to compete in the Olympic weightlifting competition. When I say that this mouse introduced a new level of quality, I do mean it. I think I bought my version a few months after release, so it was an early batch, but the build quality of this mouse is far better than most of the mice I've used recently. Everything from the scroll wheel to the main buttons feel really well made and are a dream to use. Endgame Gear says it's suitable for all grip types, but I would disagree, as using this for a palm grip is just a no-go. There's no sidewall for finger placement and it can end up with your pinky finger just dangling out to the side with no support. The price of this is around $60, which is reasonable for one of the highest quality mice on this list. Now we move on to one of the big boys on this list. In fact, most will already recognise this mouse. The DeathAdder V3 Pro was given a wire last year, but it also came with a few changes from the standard wireless version. First is what Razer calls the smooth touch coating, or what I like to call the not blacked coating like they've used previously. This new and improved coating feels a lot better on this wired version. This change on its own is already a huge benefit, as the old coating was a coarse matte texture that could feel very abrasive. And there's no downgrades from the wireless version either. You get the same sensor and optical switches that come with the big boy version. Not only that, it also supports up to 8000 Hz polling rate as standard. It's also lighter by a whole 4 grams. Based on a lot of gaming mice enthusiasts, 4 grams is the difference between bronze and immortal, master, or whatever ranking your chosen video game is. The shape can be used by most grip types, but might be a bit too big for those with baby hands. To me, it's great that Razer provides a cheaper wired version of one of their highest performing mice, and it also got some much needed coating improvements as well. With this costing around $70, it's almost half the price of the wireless version. Before we get to our last nomination, I would highly recommend purchasing a mouse bungee. Pulsar makes a pretty cool one that is very non-intrusive and sticks underneath your monitor. Standard ones that look like this are okay, but I find they require more wire slack than you sometimes should need for large swipes. The Vaxi Orizer looks pretty neat as it can rotate, but I've personally never tried it. If you're interested in a bungee roundup video, let me know in the comments. Also, you can make a bungee. Get some painter's tape and cut out 4 equal size strips and then stick them together with the non-stick on the outside. This makes 4 non-stick strips. Cut 2 regular strips that are a bit longer. With this you want to make a lattice type thing. Get 1 sticky strip and put the 2 non-sticks on it, and then put this over your cable and stick the other side down. Make sure it's tight enough that you can feed a bit of cable through, but not so freely. You might need to use more tape to keep it on your desk depending on the material of it. The last mouse in this list is a more recent one. I also had to review it before I did this video for a reason that will become apparent at the end. It's another mouse made by Endgame Gear, and at the time of this video, their latest mouse. One that I in fact completely ignored and disregarded when it came out due to my own personal bias that wired is stinky. Yet when I finally had the OP1 8K in my hands, I realised that I was wrong. And it also showed what you can achieve when there's a clear understanding of what you want your mouse to do. This is the #1 gaming mouse for performance. Using a Nuvoton MCU and the 3395 sensor, it supports up to 8000 Hz polling rate. But it also provides 8000 Hz polling rate for the switches no matter what polling rate the sensor is set to. Coupled with the ability to take the mouse apart for any repairs or to swap the switches, this is one of the most consumer friendly mice that you can get. The only negative is that it's a bit more narrower than most mice, so it's only really suitable for a claw grip. I believe this is also one of the most expensive wired mice on this list at around $85, which might be a bit steep. But the real question is it worth paying that amount of money for a wired mouse? Yes. Because it's the best wired mouse you can buy right now. That's right, it's #1. From the performance to the quality of the mouse, everything on it is pretty much perfect, and the consumer friendliness that it provides really gives it an added advantage. The list overall is pretty close. I'd put the DeathAdder V3 Pro wired in second, the Haste 2 in third, the XM1R in fourth, and any wired Zowie mouse in fifth. Overall, I think having a wired mouse with a decent bungee that keeps the cable off your mousepad is an option to now consider. After using wired mice these last couple of weeks, I can honestly say that I'm no longer a wired hater. If you want to check out my review of the best wired mouse, well, it's on screen now for you to enjoy.